Story 1. I do not think any animal is equipped to dominate the world at all, to be honest. Story 2. Rats that have evolved into winged duck rats. Story 3. I do not think a specific animal can dominate the entire planet, but some animals dominate particular regions and habitats. Story 4. Crows already run things. They are just letting us think we are in charge. Smart birds are probably celebrating our demise right now. Story 5. That's the crazy thing. The world is in harmony, and somehow we are the anomaly that breaks it. Every biome has checks and balances, and only invasive species ever dominate. Story 6. No single species would take over globally. Regionally specific apex predators would dominate. For example, wolves across the northern hemisphere. In North America, a mix of wolves, coyotes, mountain lions, and bobcats. Lynxes and pumas in Central and South America. Lions and panthers in Africa and the Middle East. Panthers and tigers in Southern Asia. And lions could re-emerge in Southern Europe, which was part of their historic range. Story 7. Beavers already control environments and build homes and infrastructure. Story 8. At present, no other animal species is equipped to dominate the world. Either they are not intelligent enough or they are evolutionarily constrained by their current niche. It would take millions of years for another species to evolve to fill the niche left by humans, and there is no guarantee that the niche will be refilled. The planet could spend the rest of its existence without a new technological, dominant species emerging. It is impossible to be certain because the exact limits of life on Earth are unknown. If one did arise in our absence, some good candidates would be another primate that is not as evolutionarily limited as other great apes, a cephalopod such as the octopus, or a bird species like a crow or raven. All of these are very intelligent, and the first two have appendages capable of manipulating objects. If they increased their intelligence and reduced their limiting factors over millions of years of evolution, they could become the next dominant species. Story 9. I would say cats. They are smart and can breed like crazy, laughing out loud. Story 10. I think there would be a more balanced ecosystem without one species dominating in the absurd way that we do. Story 11. If we disappeared, it would probably take another couple of million years for a future generation of chimpanzees to evolve into a dominant species. Story 12. Animals do not worry about dominance over other species if those species do not affect their feeding or breeding. Story 13. Cats, deer, lionfish, zebra mussels, and goldfish could likely spread aggressively and take over many of the areas where they are invasive. Story 14. When humans move out, the first animals to move in are wild boars, when present, or bears, which are both likely to break glass windows. In countries lacking those two, it is pigeons. These three groups would thrive if we all go to Mars Colony X. Story 15. Foxes and cats both seem to thrive in almost any climate and do not have as much trouble finding food as larger animals such as wolves and bears. Story 16. No animal has dominated the way we have. Species that became apex animals before us took millions of years to evolve. We did it in about 70,000 years. No other animal had the capacity to do that. We had a unique combination of brain power, social structure, and language. If we disappeared, the world would revert to its state before us. The oceans would again be teeming with fish, and on land our extinction would allow other species to rise to dominance. Story 17. Fungi. They already rule the world, and we exist only where they allow us. Source: Studied Ecology. Story 18. Rats and cockroaches breed rapidly, eat a wide range of food, and survive in many environments. Their populations can grow explosively. Story 19. Deer would absolutely flood the East Coast from North Carolina to New Jersey. Despite hunting, we experienced a population explosion during the coronavirus disease 2019 lockdown because there were fewer vehicle collisions with deer. Realistically, insects already dominate. Story 20. If humans disappeared, wild animals would thrive while domesticated animals would struggle. Without us, nature would rebalance, forests would regrow, predators would roam free, and ecosystems would heal. Farm animals and pets, bred for comfort rather than survival, would not last long. Cats might go feral and pigs could adapt, but most other domestic species would fade. Things that depended on humans would vanish, while those that did not would grow stronger. Story 21. Humans are an anomaly. How long will it take for another such anomaly to occur? Primates could experience the same anomaly and humans would again dominate the land. It might take a billion years, who knows? The real question is which land-based creature has the largest brain and the greatest potential to evolve the intelligence and self-awareness that humans have. I say land-based because humans do not dominate the ocean, so I assume we mean land. Now add the extreme advantage of having an opposable thumb or digit. If a great ape or monkey did not hit the jackpot first, I would choose lemurs. However, I am really rooting for the waxy monkey tree frog. Story 22. Carcinization. Apparently, crabs are the universe's most perfect creatures. Story 23. No animal dominates the world. We are simply more present to our own perspective, which makes us think we do. From a biological standpoint, fungi and insects have been the closest living organisms to world domination in terms of range and resilience. Nature would collapse if they suddenly disappeared. They have held that role since they first appeared and will continue to do so long after we are gone. Microscopic organisms are another matter entirely. They have always been dominant as well. Story 24. Nature has a way of maintaining balance. No other animals are equipped to thrive as we do. Story 25. The diversity of biomes on this planet makes it impossible for any single creature to dominate everywhere. Each biome has apex predators, and these predators do not interact with those in other biomes. The Earth would heal, and ecosystems would return to their natural balance. Story 26. Groups of apes across the world have entered the Stone Age. They wear masks and hunt with spears. Hopefully, whatever they evolve into will be more spiritually developed than we are. We have enough intellect to design unimaginable weapons, but we lack the spiritual development needed for such advancements to exist safely within our species. Story 27. I don't think any would. They would just live in a natural state. We are the only species with an urge to dominate our ecosystem. Story 28. Chimpanzees will evolve to dominate in a million years. Story 29. Rats are good contenders. They're smart, resourceful, and very adaptable. Story 30. Jellyfish already dominate the oceans and simply cannot die unless they are eaten. There are just too many of them, and, to my knowledge, few wild animals eat jellyfish as part of their diets. Story 31. Insects currently dominate the planet, so they will keep doing their thing. Story 32. Dominate how? By sheer numbers? I think that would be some sort of insect like a termite. Story 33. There is considerable scientific theory and evidence that birds, especially crows, could evolve to form complex communities and eventually attain human-like intelligence. Story 34. Those who drank radioactive water mutated to survive the radiation. Story 35. If every human vanished tomorrow, ants would still inherit the earth. God already made them in enormous numbers, about 20 quadrillion total, roughly 2.5 million per person. Their colonies function as superorganisms with farmers, soldiers, builders, and queens, and they have outlasted the dinosaurs without changing kinds. Scripture says creeping things filled the earth, as in Genesis 1 verses 24 to 25 and 8:19, and ants were designed. Dominant from day 6, they farm fungi, enslave other insects, and build bridges with their bodies. Cockroaches are tough and rats are smart, but ants contain the blueprint for civilization baked in by the Creator. Without humans poisoning them or stepping on them, their colonies could swallow cities, tunnel through concrete, and farm abandoned fields. God's design, not Darwin's. We are temporary tenants. The ants were always ready. Story 36. We have suppressed many species and caused so many extinctions that none will dominate the world. That is a good thing. Global domination by a single species would be unhealthy. Life and this planet need time to recover from us, and that will take so long that species will come and go. If something rises to human-like domination, it will likely be a species that has yet to evolve. It could descend from other primates, from rodents, or from a group we cannot predict. Story 37. Octopuses honestly freak me out with how intelligent they are. If the oceans ever became the main world again, they would probably evolve into something wild. They already solve puzzles and open jars. Give them time. Story 38. Dolphins 100%. They are patiently waiting until we cause our own extinction. Story 39. Even with more carnivores, they still could not dominate the earth. They cannot defeat animals like elephants, rhinoceroses, and hippopotamuses. Story 40. Probably ants. They are already the most populous animal on the planet, and the only thing keeping them in check is us. Story 41. If a single species dominates the world, the food chain will be thrown out of balance, leading to its own extinction. Story 42. Some other great apes already use tools, as do some corvids. Those are potential candidates. If octopuses evolve to live longer, they might also have that potential. They are already excellent problem solvers but do not currently live long enough to take over. Story 43. No, that is not how the rest of the animal kingdom works. Story 44. I think it would be a balanced ecosystem if humans left. Everything would be in its place and in balance, except for the mutated test subjects and biological anomalies that our presence on Earth keeps safe and refrigerated in laboratories. They might either end the world or take over if humans left. Story 45. None. That's a human thing. Animals only go for what they need. Story 46. People like ants already dominate the world. They just do it with less pomp and circumstance. Story 47. I do not know of any other animal as adaptable as humans. Big cats would likely dominate in Africa and Asia, and wolves in Europe and North America. No other animal, except perhaps rats, cats, and dogs, occupies as many diverse environments as humans do. All of those species also seem quite reliant on human activity. Cats might do well and thrive on their own. Dogs and rats, however, would probably be less successful. Humans have altered dogs so much that they would not be able to replicate the hunting tactics of wolves. Story 48. If by dominate you mean the human ability to continually build and reshape entire ecosystems, I don't think any animal will assume that role for many millions of years, if ever. Being dominant over the world is not the goal of evolution. Evolution is just variation and selection. A fish with a stronger jaw survived long enough to mate, the ones with weaker jaws did not, and this repeated over generations until that fish became something better suited to its environment. Or an offspring's markings coincidentally match the environment better than its siblings' markings, so it survives and carries its genes forward while others lag behind. Having a big brain or thumbs is not what automatically makes a species survive. If that were the case, we would see far more convergent evolution toward a human form. Instead, we see convergent evolution producing many different organisms that independently evolve crab-like forms because that body plan works very well. If you mean which animals will propagate, evolve, and thrive while we are gone, the answer is basically everything. Humanity is an extremely destructive force on nature. Without cars, pesticides, and artificial lights, insects would become far more abundant, and many other animals would thrive as a result. A simple, somewhat silly answer is coral. Story 49. Deer would eat everything because we have killed off their predators. Story 50. Apes share 99% of their genetic material, making them our closest living relatives. Story 51. It is hard to say which bacteria will thrive the most, but some species are more likely to proliferate. Story 52. Rats. No change there, then. Sewer rats already dominate. Story 53. I do not think it would be any one animal. It would be the predators in each ecosystem. Story 54. It depends on what you mean by dominate. Are we talking population numbers, or which group next attains sapience and begins forming complex thoughts? If you mean population, I think it's a crapshoot. If it is evolution-driven, corvids. Crows already mimic human behavior and have advanced problem-solving skills. Ravens can mimic speech and sometimes seem to understand context. I suggest corvids generally because I could not limit it to a single species. I do not know much about magpies, but if ravens and crows are any guide, magpies are probably very keen as well. Story 55. Tigers have a good chance, especially if hunters stop poaching them and their numbers increase. I can see them evolving to the point of forming packs. Good luck stopping a pack of 10 to 15 tigers. They can live in diverse climates now, so I can see them thriving almost anywhere. Story 56. During the initial period after humans are gone, rats will probably be common. Story 57. My personal answer would be dogs. I think dogs would become the next top of the food chain species, mostly because they are practically impossible to outrun. For context, a cheetah can sprint at 65 miles per hour for 90 seconds. Some breeds of dog can run 40 miles per hour for 45 minutes or more. Story 58. Why would another species be foolish enough to repeat the mistakes humans made and try to dominate the world instead of living in harmony? Story 59. Depending on what you mean by dominating, no animal will ever achieve the same domination humans have. We have millions of years of animal population history, and no species has dominated like humans. In terms of numbers, nothing would really change since some animals already outnumber us. Story 60. Tardigrades or squids will be the next creatures to crawl out of the sea and make war with themselves. Story 61. All of them. We are the only animals so focused on domination. Story 62. They live in equilibrium with their surroundings. We do not. Story 63. Only we have the capability to dominate the world as a single species. Story 64. Dogs are effective pack hunters, and humans have bred them into large numbers, even though not all are adapted to survive without human support. If humans disappeared, dogs would quickly become the dominant predator in much of the world. Story 65. Nenhum. A fauna sempre viveu em equilíbrio. Quem desequilibrou fomos nós. Story 66. It's always crabs. Everything eventually evolves into a crab. Story 67. Boars and pigs are very strong, resilient, and reproduce rapidly. They live in many environments, eat a variety of foods, and can grow very large. Story 68. When we realize that the world was not meant to be dominated, we will all be better off. Story 69. The species that killed us and took the throne at the top of the food chain. Sloths. Story 70. In the Pacific Northwest, squirrels are definitely common. They are just nuts. Story 71. None of them will truly dominate the world. They lack the scope and vision to believe they need to own the world. They exist and thrive where they can survive. Humanity is the only species contemplating domination. Story 72. What do you mean? Plenty already, bacteria, viruses, etc. Story 73. World domination is a sentient species concept. I am not trying to start a discussion about sentience. The term as used here should be understandable from this text. Story 74. In the long term, octopuses are most likely to reach human-level intelligence. In the short term, cats are more likely, since we have introduced them to every corner of the globe. Story 75. This should be no surprise to anyone, the cockroach. It has existed for millions of years, long before humankind, and will more than likely remain after we are gone. The only likable cockroach was Wall-E, the robot from the movie Wall-E, which stands for Waste Allocation Load Lifter Earth Class. Story 76. It is impossible to choose, because the most powerful animal could still die from lack of food. A tiny amoeba could be the last thing left. You just never know. Story 77. Feral cats have established sizable footholds in nearly every abandoned settlement. It will be centuries before any other predator can outcompete them in former human habitations. Among predators that could consistently outhunt cats, most are territorial and maintain low population densities. Story 78. Probably birds. They are the closest to being able to farm grain. The most powerful organism on the planet is grass. Story 79. Chimpanzee dominance is absent this time, so hopefully bonobo cooperation will prevail. Story 80. Squirrels. Specifically, the fat squirrels you see on a college campus. Story 81. I do not think any one animal species would effectively dominate the world, perhaps except cats. Most species do not exist everywhere. While cats would likely thrive in a world without humans, they would not dominate. they would simply survive. So the straightforward answer is none. If you mean which species is most poised to evolve to a point where it could dominate the world, it is probably one of the other great ape species. They are the closest land mammals to being as smart and adaptable as needed to develop intelligence at our level. I am not sure which would actually succeed, but I would bet on chimpanzees or orangutans. Story 82. In the short term, it will be a battle with bears and large cats. In the long term, gorillas will take time to populate. Story 83. Jellyfish populations will explode as the tides rise. Story 84. This raises an interesting question. If an intelligent underwater species achieves some form of civilization, would it be possible for them to enter the Bronze Age? How would they discover fire and learn metallurgy? It might be impossible. Story 85. Not necessarily an animal, but viruses. In my opinion, they already dominate the world and always have and always will. Story 86. Under the definition of Homo sapiens as an animal, I would choose insects. If most animals died, insects would be the group most likely to evolve into species capable of surviving on different food sources. If you are one of those who deny evolution and think that humans are not apes, I would say apes because of their brains, communication, lifespan, opposable thumbs, and strength. Story 87. Rats because there will be no one to exterminate them as we do. Story 88. Our cousins, the chimpanzees, eventually began using stone tools. Story 89. According to an old Discovery Channel mockumentary, it's squids. Story 90. There is a really good video game about the end of humanity and the rise of beavers. Story 91. Cockroaches were here before us and will be here after us. Story 92. Initially, it would be shared. Over millions of years, one of the great apes will evolve into a human-like creature and take over. Some apes already use tools to smash open nuts and fish termites out of wood. You need sustained environmental pressures and enough caloric intake to evolve a bigger brain, though a tricky combination. You also have to overcome potential issues like large brains causing birthing mortality. You can't just will a larger pelvis into being. That's not how evolution works. The benefits of intelligence to reproductive success have to outweigh the losses from birthing issues. In summary, Earth will evolve a new set of humans, but it will take a long time. Story 93. Bacteria won the game 500 million years ago. You just live at their whim. Story 94. Argentinian ants. It's a constant battle to keep them under control. If we tap out, the joint is theirs. Story 95. Just like in the age of the dinosaurs, small mammals survived. Larger animals require much more food and energy. Any imbalance or natural force would kill them off quickly. Small mammals survived because they required fewer resources. Insects and cockroaches would dominate in numbers, but mosquitoes would not become globally dominant unless they carried bloodborne pathogens that were toxic to most animals. Story 96. I do not know. We are highly adaptable across many niches because of our large brains. Story 97. Jumping spiders are pretty smart. Will humans disappear because of a large nuclear war or a climate catastrophe that would also affect other species? Or is it just a hypothetical poof we are gone scenario in which everything else remains unaffected? Story 98. Some scientists believe humans could destroy the planet with nuclear weapons. In that case, cockroaches are often cited as able to survive intense radiation, while tardigrades, also called water bears, appear nearly indestructible and have been found to survive in space. Story 99. Crows are social animals with a large brain-to-body mass ratio and high mobility. Story 100. I was reading a piece recently that suggested the octopus may be the next animal to evolve to human-like levels of function and intelligence. Story 101. It is probably an animal that needs to be hunted for population control. The United States may be overrun by deer. Story 102. It would have to be dogs or wolves. There are so many pets that, with humans gone, they would take over quickly. Even after a nuclear disaster such as Chernobyl, they have done well and adapted. Story 103. My guess is rats. Our human waste made them incredibly adept. We also almost got rid of their nemesis, the wild cat, and replaced them with lazy and less aggressive house cats. I remember some scientists said that without cats killing the rats during the Black Plague, we would have already died. Story 104. Animals. It is plural. Isn't it obvious? Our pets show it, especially when they do that thing that makes you think what planet they are really from. Yes, mark my words. It is only a matter of time. Story 105. Ants already dominate most of the world. They're laughing at us. Story 106. Ants already account for more mass than humans, so I guess they will remain first. Story 107. None. Everything would balance out. That is how nature is supposed to work. Humans are throwing everything off. Story 108. Raccoons are already quite dexterous with their hands, active and reasonably intelligent. They live on land. Developing technology underwater is impractical. Consider an octopus trying to melt steel. Story 109. Sea life will boom. Given enough time, fish will too, just not on land. I'm not counting insects, but they will boom as well. Story 110. If we could spend some money to remove the biological clock that kills octopuses so quickly and allow them to pass information to their offspring, then in several thousand years they might evolve in surprising ways. Story 111. It is not going to be any one animal, but armadillos will show Texas what is up. There was an old television show on this subject. Life After People came out in 2003. It is a pretty solid watch. Story 112. Dolphins are already waiting for the right time to kill or enslave us all. Story 113. When humans leave an area, nature takes over and it returns to the way it was before we arrived. I grew up in coal country. Many people moved away after the coal industry shut down, and those areas have been taken over by wildlife. No single animal dominates. It is just a natural pecking order. They all go about their business. Story 114. Other primates are likely capable as well. They are quite intelligent. Dolphins and many bird species are also very intelligent, but they do not have hands and cannot manipulate objects the same way. Story 115. Probably one of the communal insects such as bees, wasps, or even ants. Other possibilities include wolves, cetaceans, schooling fish, mantises, scorpions, spiders, lizards, and mice. Story 116. No animal species known to us could remotely replace humans in dominance. Humanity's global dominance is absolute. Story 117. What is the time frame? In the short term, I would expect a large increase in animals that live in packs, from rats to dogs and coyotes. Raccoons would do exceptionally well for a short time. Chimpanzees have religion, and they would spread throughout the Congo in about 200 years at most and become the dominant force there. Corvids are on the rise as well. Ants. Story 118. Ants will still dominate the world with or without humans. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.